in the hospital. Watching her die is still the hardest thing I've ever done.
At 24.
24. Stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh my God.
She didn't want to die. She still had so much life left to live. She was fighting, like the nurses would say, which I'm sure is the right thing, would say, tell her you're going to take care of the baby. Tell her everything's fine. But she would squeeze so tight.
Hi, I'm Dr. Thais Aliabadi.
And I'm Mary Alice Haney. Today we are so excited to welcome Heather Salazar to the podcast.
Heather is a breast cancer survivor and the founder of Pink Ribbon Good, which ensures that all women battling breast cancer and gynecological cancers have access to the support they need, including healthy meals, rides to treatment, house cleaning essentials, and peer support.
We are so excited to have her on the podcast and hear more about her battle with breast cancer and her company's mission. Thanks for listening to SheMD. I make a huge effort to buy non-toxic products, and that goes for my cleaning supplies too. That's why I recently made the switch to Branch Basics. Branch Basics is free of fragrance, hormone disruptors, and harmful preservatives that wreak havoc on your health. We talk a lot about managing different health concerns on SheMD, and it's so important to have a clean, non-toxic environment when you're trying to heal and be on top of your health. Their premium starter kit replaces all of your harmful cleaning products in the home. Save 15% on your Branch Basics starter kit when you use code SheMD at www.branchbasics.com. Again, that is code SheMD for 15% off when you purchase a starter kit from Branch Basics. On today's episode, I feel so lucky that I get to meet you, Heather Salazar. She has created Pink Ribbon Good and turned this incredible story of heartache and disease into goodness, light, and you're really helping transform so many women's lives with Pink Ribbon Good. So welcome to the podcast. Before we get started, I just want to say that Dr. A and Heather, you both had breast cancer. You both adopted a child from foster care. You had 3 children each before that. Your husbands didn't know or weren't quite aware of what was going down with either one of you. And I can't wait to dive into this story. So I guess let's start at the beginning. How did you start Pink Ribbon Good?
So breast cancer came into my life in 2002. I met a young woman. She was 23 years old at the time, battling stage 4 breast cancer. She was raised in the foster system. She was looking for a home for her 8-month-old baby girl.
And how did you meet her?
My mom's neighbor was a midwife who delivered this baby.
I mean, can you imagine being 24, being in foster care, having an 8-month-old? You can't, handle yourself, let alone another baby. And you have stage 4 breast cancer.
So fast forward, I had 3 small children, right? And I couldn't stop thinking about her, and I couldn't sleep. I was waking up knowing this mom had no ride to treatment. She rode home from her mastectomy on a bus.
But this is not uncommon. I mean,
it's not, which is crazy too. Yeah. And so after 3 nights of not sleeping, my husband's finally like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I can't stop thinking about her. Please, will you meet her? Please, let's just meet her. Let's just try to make sure she has groceries. Let's just make sure she's taken care of." And, you think of all of these things. And I had no idea who she was. It was 21 years ago. So no social media. I had no clue what she looked like. But I had talked to her for 2 weeks and just said, "Hey, I want to help you. I can't stop thinking about you." And she would cry on the phone.
Was she homeless?
She lived in government housing and didn't have any other transportation and nothing really in the apartment. But I didn't know any of that at the time. So anyways, I said, "Let's meet at the grocery store in the back of the parking lot." My husband said he would go. And so I call her up before I get there, and I'm like, "I'm going to be in the red minivan in the back of the parking lot." All these things you think about now, like, why didn't we pick her up? I don't know. You just start thinking, right? And so the bus pulls up.
Did she have the baby with her?
No.
Okay.
No, that's a great question though. The bus pulls up and I think this is her and I'm so excited. My stomach is in knots. It's like fluttering. And she has a skin tight black pleather mini skirt on, a black shirt, and a neon pink wig. She's 100 pounds sopping wet. And I'm like, this has to be her. And she just walks with authority, like somebody that's like, the world's against me and I'm going to push. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like basically like this, like waiting to hug her with my arms open. She walked straight past me, didn't look at me, went straight to my husband, and she said, I'm dying. And I need my baby to have a better life than me. And I need you to help me.
Oh my God.
That was it. His heart melted in a puddle. He looked at me. He had tears streaming down his face. He didn't have the most easy childhood either. We walked in the grocery store. We got our groceries. We took her home. And the next day we got an attorney.
Oh my
5 weeks later, we had full legal custody of her.
Wait,
And
she's at this point, the mom
10
had stage 4 breast cancer?
Yeah.
And the baby was 8 months at this point.
8 months. Okay. And then 5 weeks after that, she was pushing 10 months when she came to live with us. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as just so many amazing things, like she still had in the state of Ohio, Alexis is the mom's name, Lexi. We called the baby Lexi. So Alexis still had 5 days to choose, to have a say before she lost all rights of where her baby went. 5 days when we met her that she could tell the state she wanted Lexi to live with us. 5 days. Or the foster care.
If you guys hadn't decided, that baby would have just been straight into the foster care system. Wow.
Yeah, she was in temporary foster care right then, like that. Like had been there for 4 weeks because Alexis was so sick. She couldn't take care of her.
And how long did she end up passing?
She passed away about a few weeks after she turned 24 years old. We spent the next year taking her to treatment, which again was the first time. I was definitely not Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I'm 30 at the time, but I had always had insurance. I had always had, been provided for. It was my first time working with someone and seeing someone firsthand that was dealing with health equity, social determinants of health. She would come in and they'd be like, oh, you came today to treatment. Like she didn't have a ride. She was too sick. Right. She was deciding between groceries and a ride, right? Yeah. And I would drop her off and I would schlep all 4 kids in there. And it was summer. And I would say, Alexis, we'll be back. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. And the Benadryl would kick in. And they kept talking about Herceptin. That's just all I knew. I knew nothing about breast cancer. And I said, we will go to the park. We'll be back to get you. And she would be so happy that we came back to get her. And then we ate dinner together and then we would take her back. Then I would go home. We did that for a year.
You guys are angels.
I loved her. Oh. And so I remember in the hospital, watching her die is still the hardest thing I've ever done.
At 24.
It's 24. Stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh my God.
She didn't want to die. She still had so much life left to live. She was fighting, like the nurses would say, which I'm sure is the right thing, would say, tell her you're going to take care of the baby. Tell her everything's fine. But she would squeeze so tight.
You go through this with her. And then you yourself get breast cancer.
Yeah. So 18 months, 1 year after she passes away, Lexi had some neglect issues and all the things that you don't realize. I'm sure that you dealt with different things. And so we're a really close family. Like we're like a tribe. We follow each other around and all of that. And she wouldn't stay with my parents. And so finally, a year later, I quit everything I did to kind of just say, Mommy's here. Mommy's not leaving. Like if you put her in a high chair, she would be scared. If you put her in a crib, she would be scared.
Baby.
And, Alexis gave me a really strong, a magical gift before she passed away. She just said, yeah, I left her a lot, which then when I could get her to a psychiatrist, she gets a hunger pain. You need to feed her. So as soon as we started keeping a peanut butter sandwich with us, our world was different.
Right.
So fast forward a year, she would finally stay with my parents. And we went away for our 12th anniversary at the time. We got married super young. And I said, I don't want to leave the hotel. I just want to sleep. Like, I'm so exhausted. And I remember, right before she passed away, like the 2 days before she passed away, she squeezed my hand super tight. And she said, you make sure young women do self-breast exams, Heather, because they can die of breast cancer. Young women get breast cancer. And I'm embarrassed to admit to both of you, I think maybe I thought it was a lifestyle. Like I didn't know anyone under 60 with breast cancer. No one. And so it didn't ever cross my mind, right? And so that anniversary trip, I did my first ever self-breast exam. I found a lump and I was diagnosed with the exact same kind of aggressive breast cancer. And I was 31. ER, PR negative, HER2 positive. And Herceptin is all I remembered hearing. And I was so angry. But think about it. Like, she saved my life. I would have been dead before a mammogram.
Yeah, 100%. Is that normal?
And you had no family history?
No family history. Because 19 years ago, it was only BRCA1 and 2, as you know. And so right now, so I have 2 girls, right? 22 and 23. So both of them get screened because you're supposed to get screened 10 years before. Right. So both of them get
MRIs and ultrasound.
Which is, you kind of have to fight for that. But anyways,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Which company did you do your genetic testing with?
We did.
And how many years ago?
So just last year, I had to be retested for the 60 genes because they wouldn't text Kara until I got retested. And then Lexi got tested at 21.
I just want to let you guys know that just yesterday I had a patient with the company Invitae. Her genetic test a few years ago, like 4 years ago, was positive for BRCA2, BRCA2. By the way, there are 48 cancer-causing genes, and I retested her with Myriad, and they called it a variant doesn't have significance for breast cancer. Wow! So you have 2 completely different diagnoses from 2 different genetic tests. So just to summarize, I would say you need to take a diagnostic test, not a screening test.
Yes.
And I personally like Myriad because I feel like they have the most data on the variant. So you're more likely to get a more accurate read. So if you get a positive test, if you have a strong family history, if you have someone in your life who was diagnosed at an early age, or any kind of cancer, I mean, I use them in my office.
I love them. So they both went through Myriad, and their new chief medical officer, his name's Dr. George Daniker, is on our medical advisory board.
Oh, amazing. And let me tell you why Myriad I prefer over other genetic companies. Sorry, this is a sidetrack.
I just didn't know, so I was
scared. But I want people to know. So you can take a genetic DNA genetic test. They check you for 48 cancer-causing genes. Great. You have it, you don't have it. You put a check mark in front of it. In addition to that, Myriad looks into your DNA for genetic markers. These are markers that individually, they don't do much. But if you have a bunch of those markers, it can push your lifetime risk to go up. So I have patients with no family history of breast cancer. I do a genetic test because they have colon cancer in their family. Their MyRisk test comes back negative, but their risk score shoots up to 25%, which means that they had a lot of these little genetic markers. Right. So that's why, it's important. Make sure you do your diagnostic test. I prefer Myriad because you also get that risk score, which has the markers, especially for your daughters, for my daughters. You're my pink ribbon sister. I didn't realize you had breast cancer. Yeah. You look amazing. What a story. So I just wanted to.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And can you believe how far genetic testing's come? Like, look, since I was diagnosed, it was BRCA1 and 2. That's it.
Right.
And I'm so thankful for that. I'm also so thankful for drugs like Herceptin, because it goes directly to the monoclonal. And so I was one of the first people who got treated for Herceptin for early stage cancers in 2005.
What stage cancer did you have?
I was stage 1. So she literally saved my life. I mean, it was 1.4 centimeters, and I never even would have known what to look for, if I'm being brutally honest.
Everything happens for a reason.
And did you get chemotherapy?
Yes. I had 4 rounds. Crazy. I had 4 rounds of the Red Devil, AC, and Taxol. And then a Herceptin, which they took people off of it because they were having heart issues. So I was so thankful. But it was the Adriamycin was intense.
I have a question about the medicine of it. Yes. So here's an example of 2 women.
Yes.
Super young. They get this very aggressive form of breast cancer.
They don't have a gene mutation.
And they don't have a gene mutation. So how common is that?
It's not common. I mean, I would say 5% of women are younger, at this age.
100%.
Majority of women are in their middle age, their older age when they get diagnosed with cancer. But I will tell you, more and more and more, we're seeing younger and younger women patients getting cancer in general, but especially breast cancer. So if you're 20, if you're 25, you have a lump in your breast, go get checked.
Yes.
Go get checked out. You can't just touch it and say, oh, it's probably a cyst.
Right.
Those days are over.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and it's gotten so common. It's really scary.
And
It
what
is.
do you both, since you both have had breast, what do you think is the reason that we're seeing this?
I think it's a combination of things. It could be genetics. It's our lifestyle. It's stress. It's the food we eat. It's the radiation
Chemicals,
exposure.
yeah.
It's our cell phones. It's just a combination of
Yeah.
everything. This is the
Scary.
unhealthiest I feel like we've been.
I know.
But
You know.
the silver lining is breast cancer is really treatable now.
Yeah.
It's no
Yes.
longer you get breast cancer, it's a death sentence. If
Right.
you can catch it early,
Right.
which is what you did.
Yes.
And unfortunately, she didn't.
Right.
And because, like you said, this health inequity where sometimes you can't get a ride to the doctor
It's crazy.
is crazy. And so the fact that you created this charity to bring that to women. So tell us a little bit more. So what are the things that you offer?
So we offer 3 meals a week for your entire family. They're healthy and organic meals. So if you're tech savvy, you can pick out your own meals and you could decide what your kids wanted or whatever. If you don't want to do that, we have a call center where each patient that's onboarded gets a 40-minute intake call. We're so sorry. We want you to feel welcome. We want you to feel that heard. What's your treatment plan? Do you have surgery first? Okay, your community is doing meals for a month. We'll start your meals in 2 months. You need a ride, all of the things. And they set them up completely and they can see it. So when they look at their phone, it looks like they can see like their Uber ride coming, or they can see what meals they're getting. The meals are co-branded. And then we have cleaning essentials that are toxin-free, which was super important to me. One thing that was important to me when we wrote the grant to start this organization was that it was anything you or I would do. So I remember at the beginning, they're like, you could feed them so much cheaper with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Would you eat that?
Exactly.
But that's
And
a hard
sometimes-
thing to
yeah.
say, because then you're serving people and it's more a higher dollar amount per family. But I didn't care. I wanted them to have the best possible outcome. And being food insecure and ride insecure never helps the treatment plan. Never. And so, and then peer support, because I think, as you know, what you want is after you go through this is you want to see someone who's lived a long time. You want to see someone who's beat the odds. You want to see someone that gets to see their child grow up. I remember I'm 31, 5-year statistics. I'm like, great, I'll be 36. I wanted to know somebody else that wanted to grow old and see their kid go to kindergarten. I remember the first time my son stepped on the basketball court as a high schooler, I sobbed. I never thought I would see that day. And the peer support matches peer-to-peer up for people with the same diagnoses. So someone with DCIS, we match them with DCIS. Someone that's in their 30s that wants to have kids, we match them with someone else.
That's amazing.
And we have built this amazing PRG family, and that already is national. We've done that. That was one of the few silver linings of COVID, is that we put everything virtually. Yes, last week we had someone from Germany on there. So they get on, and we have amazing people. Maybe someday you'll grace us that come in and facilitate it and talk about, inspire them. We had Branch Basics coming next week, and they're going to talk about what a toxin-free house is. And they talk to all of the women that sign up, and all of this is free of charge.
Well, in terms of the food and then the cleaning supplies, what's special about what you guys do? Like what program do you use for cleaning supplies?
Yes.
Like, I'd love to give people real takeaways.
Yes. So one thing that I think that I'm most proud of with PRG, I call it PRG, it's just easier, is that we are a one-stop shop. The doctors are busy. The nurse navigators are busy. So in one time, you sign over patient's name, date of birth, type of cancer, and that's it. And then we call the patient and reach out to them. And so we can take that lift off the hospitals. And the hospitals have just been so thankful for that. Our cleaning supplies, so before COVID, we had cleaning people go in. So we would work with national cleaning companies. Okay. And we had a hard time, obviously, during COVID, stopped that. And then we had a hard time finding enough people. So we pivoted during COVID, and we went with Branch Basics. And they're amazing products that are toxin-free, started by two female founders.
I've heard of them.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
I think one of the founders had PCOS. And
yes,
that's why
she does.
It.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I know this company. They're amazing.
Yes. That is why she started it.
Okay.
And they started it in college with their aunt or cousin or somebody that was a little bit older that helped them work through the stuff. And now, all of our clients get the toxin-free cleaning supplies. At first, it's a little overwhelming, right? Because it's not like just a bottle that you spray. You mix it with water, and then you think, oh, is this really going to work? And then the testimonials we get of how clean their clothes are. You can use it for clothes. You can use it for
I think my
cleaning.
Husband ordered it. I actually think I have it at home.
It's
it
amazing.
comes with a bottle,
Yes.
and you take the
Yes.
solution and you add water
Yep.
and you shake it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's great.
It's great.
And you send them these supplies for how long?
So with the Branch Basics, you get enough that gets you for 3 months. And then they're glass bottles, so you could refill them.
Okay.
And then for the meals, if you're early stage, you get them services for 3 months. And if you're late stage, it's around 9 to 12 months, depending
Wow.
on what works for you. And then for rides, 30 rides if you're early stage. And then if you're late stage, we really have never turned anyone away.
I mean, I think that's, again, talking about organic food, and we talk about this.
Yes.
Like, women that are below the poverty line, they're not thinking about organic food because they just need food, and a woman going through that, to be able to get healthy, amazing meals and not have to think about it, to get cleaning supplies that don't have toxins when you
It's
think
so expensive.
Yes, it's not easy. It's just not easy, number one, to think about that all the time. So you're taking that away, but also sometimes to really be able to afford that. So I think but you do offer this to any woman with breast cancer.
With breast or gynecological cancers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ovarian cancer,
Yeah.
uterine cancer.
Right, which I
fallopian
mean,
tube,
I just
cervical
learned
cancer.
from Myriad, they have a new test that they're going to start using for ovarian cancer, because we don't have a lot of tests for that. So anyways, yes, and I'm very thankful that this has worked. And the other thing with rides, at the very beginning, I talked to some other people that before Uber that did transportation, that worked in logistics. And I'm not kidding you. I think I was told 5 times, you will fail. This will never work. This will never work. And I remember I stood up at this one person and I said, my daughter's mom rode home on a bus. I will figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is incredible.
Do you get a discount, like when you work with Uber, when your organization works with Uber?
So we don't get a discount from Uber on the rides. They do work with us and send their strategic team out into a new region. So like, let's say we get to start in LA. Okay. They would go out and tell you how long it would take to get an Uber, what that looks like, all of those things. But we will figure out the right
We
partner.
have to send this podcast to the
Uber. I think you might need to be listening to this podcast. I think we
know.
might need to be
Some
Come
discounts.
on, a few discounts. No, really though, I think it's amazing. So what have you learned throughout this? I mean, you've, in this crazy way, as I listened to your story, I think, you were her angel. She gave you your baby and she was yours. I mean, honestly, like this, you guys transformed each other's, lives.
I feel like your life is a mirror image of my life.
It is. I mean, when I looked it up and they said, oh, you're going to be on the CMD podcast. And I had only listened to the first one and then the second one. And it was like by chance I found it. And then of course, when Olivia Munn was diagnosed,
right,
I was like, I've got to hear what they're saying. And then I was like, tell my husband, she adopted a baby from the foster care system.
It's crazy.
I was like,
and
how?
she looks just like you.
Yeah. And she's had breast cancer, and so I just feel like it's, it's such a privilege. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard, I think there's this like one quote and I might botch it, but about like, another mother's child calls you mom. The magnitude of that loss and the privilege is not lost on me.
It's amazing.
And
it's the most magical feeling. And I have 3 of my own daughters.
Me too.
But she's brought so much love into our lives. I can't even imagine life before her. Every time someone says she's so lucky, I stop them and I say, no. We're the lucky ones.
Yep.
I just have to teach her not to hide my jewelry around
Yeah.
the house.
I always say Lexi, I mean, she is the epitome of the baby of the family. Like, I don't know what it'll be like with Coco, but like 6 months ago, she's at college and she's like on the family group text. It's my half birthday. No one Venmo'd me. No one bought my Starbucks. I'm like, oh my goodness, girl.
Did you see a picture of her?
Yes.
She's absolutely stunning. What is she doing now?
So she has one more semester of school, and then she wants to work in with kids that are either athletes with mental health. And the other thing that she's doing that's so amazing is that it's very important to her that young African-American women do self-breast exams and get screened.
That's amazing.
Right. High risk
Population. And we don't even understand why.
Right.
Really. Mm-hmm.
And what is your hope for the future of Pink Ribbon Good?
My favorite question. My hope is to be national in the next 5 years. We're working really hard as a team. I am so sad when you call me from a state we're not in and we can't help you. That ruins me. It makes me want to cry. And so we're working on funding, we're working on growth, and that this will be a national organization for all hospitals in the next 5 years. And I believe we'll get there. We'll get there.
I believe you will
and
too.
If you work for Lyft or Uber and you're listening to this podcast, make sure you can get discounts for
Pink Ribbon Good.
Pink Ribbon Good.
Agreed. And all of this, if you would have told me we would be in San Francisco or, on a soccer trip, that's how we met the San Francisco people, that I was at an airport and I said, Lexi, leave me alone for 45 minutes. Leave me alone. I'm 300 emails deep. I'm failing as a wife, a mom. Pink PRG is $1 million. I have no employees. I mean, it is just, the meals are exploding. Nothing's going right at this point. She walks up to me 5 minutes later and she's like, Mom, can I have $5 for Starbucks? And this man sitting beside me goes, did you adopt her? And I was like, clearly. And he just gives me this $1 million smile and he goes, oh, I'm the VC for a guy that helped start Amazon. He sold the software to Jeff Bezos so they could sell more than books in 97. And now we're working for AI for breast cancer and we'll want to work with you. And that's how I got those engineers to help with all of this.
That's amazing. See, good.
Yes.
Begets good.
Amen.
Begets
Agreed.
Good. Oh, that's
Agreed.
a great story. I love that.
And so I know we're like one step away of finding the right person that we will be able to serve all these women.
Can I ask both of you guys as we close this amazing session out, what advice would you give to any woman listening right now that is either found that she's got cancer or living through cancer? What would you say from both of your journeys?
I would say, first of all, if you're going to pick a cancer to have, the best one is breast cancer, probably. Because like she said, we have cures for breast cancer. It depends on what type, obviously the size, how aggressive it is. But generally speaking, we can treat breast cancer. So if you're diagnosed with breast cancer, there's no reason to panic. We can probably fix it. Number 2, do genetic testing. Calculate your lifetime risk. I always say this. Know what your lifetime risk is and start imaging as early as, 25 or 10 years before your first degree relative was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, the one lesson I learned with breast cancer, which was very traumatic, when someone diagnoses you with breast cancer or any kind of cancer, your world turns upside down, especially when you have children at home. And I told you this, I read a book, and basically in this book, they talk about when something traumatic happens to you in life, instead of crying and saying, why me? Why did it happen to me? I'm so healthy. I never smoked. I never did drugs. I don't have any gene mutations, blah, blah, blah. Instead of constantly saying why, go down that path and you will see why you were placed on that path, my friend. If you didn't have breast cancer, you would never have helped so many women right now. Can you imagine your life without your organization?
No.
Can you imagine your life without this beautiful daughter that you adopted? You completely changed your life. I mean, it gave you purpose.
Yes.
It gave you everything you've ever dreamt of in life. And that's exactly how I feel. I would have never been sitting here. I was so busy. I had a busy practice. I have a beautiful family. I had my children. I had my husband. I had it all.
Yeah.
But I always tell Mary Alice, if I had to go back to 5 years ago and you gave me a choice that I could not have cancer and I could have lived my old life, or I had cancer and I would have this new life, 1,000,000 times over, I would pick this new life with the breast cancer in it.
Don't you think it's such a gift, like also these women, and some of them, it doesn't always end well, right? Like some of them catch it late or whatever, but what I learned from them, they don't sweat the small stuff. They live every day to the fullest. They're like, oh, I have to go to practice or I have to do this. They're like, I get to. Right. I get to go to the grocery.
I get to live.
I'm so thankful I turned 50. I never thought I would see 50.
Yeah.
Never.
Same.
I'm so thankful for that. And then I think from a practical standpoint, I would say be your own advocate. Fight for what you want, especially in my world for reconstruction options. I don't think a lot of times we're given the gamut of what, and we have rights to get the kind of reconstruction that you want. And I think that, truly asking the questions. And then I think from a caregiver's perspective, these women get diagnosed and they don't know how to do the next step. Who's going to take care of my family? Who's going to be there for my kids? And we just want to show up for them so they can just simply fight the disease.
This is amazing. Just a couple of days ago, someone asked me, what was so important for you after your diagnosis? You know what I said? I said, one of the dearest friends I have in life right now, I wasn't very close to her, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, she would bring food to the hospital and she would leave it behind the door. From Erewhon, from Whole Foods, like really good, healthy, organic juices with shots from Creation. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I remember.
Yes.
And looking back, when you're sick, when you're in the hospital, when you've had surgery, when you're getting chemo, when your world is imploding in front of your eyes, you don't need someone to call and say, how are you?
Right.
Don't ask me how I am, because I'm not doing well.
Yeah, I'm not doing great. I have a
Don't
friend,
ask me. Call me if you need anything.
Right. And
I need something right now every step of the way.
Food is, we're best friends now because of that.
Right.
Because I never did that for other people. I was the person who would call and say, I'm so sorry, how are you? Now I don't do that.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what you guys are doing is amazing. And I have personal experience with that. Needing food, just like the basics. Someone picking up your prescription, I had my friends take my children for the weekend. It was like a gift.
You created Pink Ribbon Good to really put that into action for every woman, so that if she doesn't have that friend, she's got you and your organization. So I just think, thank you from all of us.
But you see, in a way, this is the magic of breast cancer.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I would say if you were just diagnosed with breast cancer, if you're in the middle of getting chemo, radiation, surgery, mastectomy, lumpectomy, whatever it is, know that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
We all go through it. It's a horrific year. It really is. It shakes you to your core, especially when you have children. I used to come home and I couldn't listen to the voice of my children because I kept telling myself, I'm never going to hear them anymore.
I know.
Do you know? I'm going to die. I'm going to go. And when you have cancer, it's such a lonely feeling.
It is.
It's you against the world, right? It's like you feel like no one can understand you. No one can relate to you. But just know that it ends. The chemotherapy, the radiation, the surgeries, the mastectomy, the blood transfusions, all of it will end. Your hair will grow back better than before.
Thank God.
Yes.
Oh, that was the hardest part.
Yes. But you know what? It's just listening to you. It's so heartwarming. You're my pink ribbon sister. It's an honor to have met you here today. I mean, it's heartwarming to know how someone can take something so negative and turn it into such a powerful organization that can help so many women. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us today on SheMD.
Remember, if you want to own your health, a good place to start is by following us on social media at SheMD Podcast and by subscribing to our show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
For takeaways from today's episode, visit our website, shemdpodcast.com.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for a physician's medical advice. You should regularly consult your medical provider in matters relating to your own health. Even though we share our honest beliefs on SheMD, some of the products and services we discuss may involve sponsorships or paid advertising.